This dashboard displays an empirical anomaly, a 1.2 million to 1 compression ratio, a 100% storage reduction. Reconstruction metrics of 45.9 decibels and 0.9985 SSIM confirm high fidelity. The driving mechanism? Only 4 items are unique canonical states. The remaining 127 are references. Traditional data compression models rely on spatial decimation, shrinking file sizes by finding and removing redundant code within a static container. They are strictly bound by Shannon entropy limits. Axiom Arc bypasses these limits by encoding states into a temporal phase lattice. To see how this architecture functions, we will deconstruct its 3-layer persistence pipeline: the persistence engine, the holographic compressor, and the symbolic collapse. This pipeline relies on a specific physical component called a dimensional retrieval card, or DRC. Its primary function is to filter incoming data, isolating structural novelty from repetitive noise. Under this framework, memory operates as a dynamic measurement of how structural novelty evolves over time. The governing design rule of the Axiom Arc framework treats all external data, bitmaps, documents, or keystroke streams, as payload. The primary structure is the dimensional retrieval card. The DRC acts as a temporal cache page, managing the allocation, encoding, and access of memory through resonance. The DRC operates within a 24-cell temporal lattice, defining allocation through geometric harmonic coherence. Active state is defined by an equation tracking amplitude, timbre, frequency, phase, and spectral class. When a signal arrives, the DRC activates, evaluating the payload only upon attachment to this lattice. Memory degradation in this system is driven by phase misalignment and angular entropy, a departure from the hardware wear or voltage drift found in classical components. In this framework, addressability and persistence are products of angular harmonics across sequential time steps. Layer A, the persistence engine, executes structural collapse on incoming signals. It calculates a predicted trajectory based on historical occurrence rates. The gap between prediction and observation is the residual. If this gap is low, the frame is classed as a continuation. A continuation classification results in 0 physical memory writes. The prior state is simply carried forward in the active ledger. If the residual is moderate, the system marks it for discernment. Only high residuals trigger a novelty classification. Layer A reduces bandwidth requirements by refusing to physically record data that the temporal lattice can already mathematically predict. Continuous adaptive memory systems that rely on ambient tracking possess a specific mathematical vulnerability. This is reference capture. Because the tracking line shadows the creeping signal so closely, the residual remains at 0, effectively hiding a monotonic drift in the baseline. The system redefines slow physical change as stasis, registering no novelty despite significant drift from the origin. Axiom Arc establishes 2 lines via information density state tracking. The working reference adapts to monitor local drift, triggering an alert if the gap crosses 0.01. The anchor reference remains frozen, monitoring for slow baseline displacement and triggering an audit independently. If either threshold is crossed, the system escalates the state out of continuation. IDST ensures that true stasis is preserved, preventing adaptive references from being poisoned by creeping drift. Once the IDST layer and the serif operator confirms structural novelty, the data is committed to Layer B. This initiates Layer B's holographic compression and Layer C's symbolic collapse, where physical storage occurs. We can see this in the canonical states table. The original fractal control file enters the pipeline at 65,591 bytes. Spectral encoding and hexagram triad assembly collapse those 65 kilobytes into exactly 32 bytes of dimensional tracking data. Layer C then wraps this payload with symbolic metadata, mapping it to a permanent DRC canonical state. Subsequent data identified as a continuation is never rewritten. It is simply mapped as a phase-shifted pointer back to this 32-byte canonical root. These layers achieve extreme density because Layer A isolates only the bedrock canonical states. This bar chart details the compound effect of the system's architecture. The initial 33 times reduction is generated by Layer A's persistence engine. The secondary 38,067 times reduction is achieved by the holographic layers through angular resonance. Combined, this yields a ratio of 1,246,694 to 1. These results demonstrate an alternative approach to recording state in computational physics. The benchmark shows that for highly structured data, a resonance-based approach offers efficiencies that binary discretization struggles to match. It establishes phase-locked temporal topologies as a high-fidelity method for preserving state over time. By utilizing a 24-cell memory lattice, the system bypasses the storage limits of classical hardware. In the axiom arc framework, memory functions as the active memory language of the lattice, defined by angular harmonics and time.